How many times have you promised yourself you'd start exercising, eating healthier, waking up earlier, or finally writing that book? And how many times did you quit after just a few days? What if I told you the problem isn't your willpower or motivation? It's that you've been approaching habits completely wrong. Welcome to Page Wise, where we break down the books that actually change lives. Today we're diving into The Habit Blueprint, a complete guide to building habits that stick. Here's a shocking stat. Research shows that 92% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. What? Because most people try to change everything at once, rely on motivation that fades, and give up the moment they miss a day. But here's the thing, nearly 40% of everything you do every day is automatic. You're already running on habits. The question is, are they the right habits? In this book summary, you're going to learn the exact science behind how habits form, and more importantly, how to use that science to completely transform your life. We're talking about the neurological loop that makes habits stick, 4 simple laws that make building good habits inevitable, why starting with just 2 minutes can lead to massive change, the exact strategy that helped people lose 50+ pounds, write novels and build million-dollar businesses, and how to break bad habits for good without relying on willpower. This isn't theory. These are proven strategies backed by neuroscience and used by Olympic athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and everyday people who've completely turned their lives around. People like James, who lost 60 pounds, Maria, who transformed her chaotic mornings, and David, who broke free from 7 hours of daily phone addiction. So if you're ready to finally build habits that actually last, not for a week, not for a month, but for life, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our book breakdowns. And stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have a complete system to start building your first habit today. Let's dive in. Let's start with something most people don't understand: the habit loop, and why your brain is secretly working against you. You've tried to build better habits. You failed. And you think it's because you lack discipline. Wrong. The truth is, you just didn't know the science. Welcome to Page Wise. Today we're breaking down The Habit Blueprint, the complete system for building habits that actually stick. This isn't about willpower. This is about smart systems. Subscribe so you don't miss this breakdown, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to transform your life, one tiny habit at a time. Let's get started. Introduction: Why habits matter. Every day you wake up and follow a script you didn't consciously write. You reach for your phone before your feet hit the floor. You brew coffee the same way you did yesterday. You take the same route to work, sit in the same spot, and order the same lunch. By the time evening rolls around, you've made thousands of decisions, except most of them weren't really decisions at all. They were habits. Research from Duke University suggests that about 40% of our daily actions are performed automatically, without conscious thought. Think about that for a moment. Nearly half of what you do today you'll probably do again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. This is either the most terrifying or the most empowering piece of information you'll learn today, depending entirely on what your current habits look like. Consider the story of a man we'll call James. At 35, James found himself 60 pounds overweight, drowning in credit card debt, and feeling like life was passing him by. He'd wake up exhausted, scroll through social media for an hour in bed, skip breakfast, grab fast food for lunch, come home depleted, and binge-watch TV until midnight. Every Sunday night, he'd promise himself, tomorrow, everything changes. By Tuesday, he was back to his old patterns. The problem wasn't that James lacked willpower or motivation. The problem was that he was fighting against the gravitational pull of his existing habits. And habits, once established, are incredibly powerful forces. But here's the beautiful twist to James's story. 2 years later, he had lost 55 pounds, paid off $20,000 in debt, and had more energy than he'd felt in a decade. What changed? Not his personality, not his circumstances, his habits. The good news, the truly revolutionary news, is that you have far more control over your habits than you think. This ebook will show you exactly how to harness the power of habit formation to create lasting change in your life, without relying on the fleeting fuel of willpower or motivation. You're about to learn the same strategies used by Olympic athletes, Fortune 500 CEOs, best-selling authors, and everyday people who've transformed their lives one small habit at a time. Not through radical makeovers or punishing regimens, but through understanding the simple mechanics of how habits work and using that knowledge to redesign your life. Chapter 1. Understanding how habits work. The habit loop, your brain's operating system. In the late 1990s, researchers at MIT made a fascinating discovery while studying the brains of rats navigating mazes. They found that as the rats learned the route, their brain activity actually decreased. The rats' brains were literally working less hard the more familiar they became with the maze. This was the first concrete evidence of something scientists had long suspected. Our brains are constantly looking for ways to save effort. Any behavior that gets repeated enough times gets coded into an automatic routine, a habit. Every habit, whether good or bad, follows the same neurological pattern called the habit loop. It has three components. Cue, routine, reward. The cue is a trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. The routine is the behavior itself, the automatic response to the cue. The reward is what your brain gets from completing the routine, which helps it remember this particular loop for the future. Let's look at some real-world examples. The social media habit. Cue. Your phone buzzes with a notification. Routine. You immediately unlock your phone and check the app. Reward. A hit of dopamine from seeing likes, comments, or new content. The coffee habit. Cue. You wake up and smell coffee brewing or just the time of day. Routine. You pour a cup and take that first sip. Reward. The caffeine hits your system. You feel more alert and comforted. The evening snacking habit. Cue. You sit down on the couch after dinner. Routine. You go to the kitchen and grab chips or cookies. Reward. The taste, the comfort, the distraction from stress. Here's a story that illustrates how powerful these loops become. A woman named Lisa spent 5 years trying to quit smoking. She tried patches, gum, hypnosis, even medication. Nothing worked for more than a few weeks. Then one day her therapist asked her a different question. When do you most crave a cigarette? Lisa thought about it. When I'm stressed at work. I take a cigarette break outside. What do you get from that break? The therapist pressed. Well, the nicotine, obviously. What else? Lisa paused. I guess I get 10 minutes away from my desk. I get to chat with other smokers outside. I get fresh air. The breakthrough was realizing that the routine, smoking, was delivering multiple rewards. Nicotine, social connection, a break from work, and time outside. Once Lisa understood this, she was able to replace the routine while keeping the same cue and reward. When she felt stressed at work, cue, she'd go outside and chat with colleagues for 10 minutes, new routine, getting the social connection and break she craved, reward. Within 3 months, she'd quit smoking permanently. Why habits are so powerful. Your brain is an incredible organ, but it's also expensive to operate. It's about 2% of your body weight but uses roughly 20% of your energy. To conserve energy, your brain is constantly looking for ways to do less work. This is where habits come in. When you first learn to drive a car, your brain is on fire with activity. You're consciously thinking about every action. Checking mirrors, adjusting speed, turning the wheel, monitoring other cars. It's exhausting. But after weeks and months of practice, driving becomes automatic. Your brain has chunked all those individual actions into a single habit loop. Now you can drive while having a conversation, listening to a podcast, or planning your day. This is the power of habits. They free up your conscious mind to focus on other things. But here's the catch. Your brain can't distinguish between good habits and bad habits. It chunks them all the same way. This is why a person who smokes doesn't have to think about lighting up when they're stressed. It just happens. It's why you can mindlessly eat an entire bag of chips while watching TV. Your brain has automated these behaviors to save energy, whether they're helping you or hurting you. The neurological research shows something even more fascinating. Once a habit is formed, the neural pathways don't disappear. They become encoded in the basal ganglia, a primitive part of your brain. This is why breaking a bad habit feels so difficult. You're not just deciding to do something different, you're fighting against deeply ingrained neural pathways that have been reinforced hundreds or thousands of times. Consider the case of Eugene Pauly, a man who lost his ability to form new memories due to viral encephalitis. Despite his memory loss, researchers discovered he could still form new habits. They could teach him routines and he'd execute them perfectly, even though he couldn't consciously remember learning them. This demonstrated that habits operate in a different part of the brain than conscious memory, which is why they feel so automatic and why we often perform them without thinking. The identity factor, the missing piece. Most people approach habit change backward. They focus on what they want to achieve or accomplish. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to write a book. I want to run a marathon. But here's the transformative insight that most people miss. The most effective way to change your habits isn't to focus on what you want to achieve, but on who you want to become. There's a profound psychological difference between these two approaches. Outcome-based habits. I want to run a marathon, focused on achievement. Identity-based habits. I am a runner, focused on becoming. The magic of identity-based habits is that every action you take becomes a vote for the type of person you want to be. When you write for 5 minutes, you're casting a vote for, I am a writer. When you go to the gym, you're voting for, I am someone who prioritizes health. When you meditate, you're voting for, I am someone who values mental clarity. Accumulate enough votes and your identity starts to shift. Once your identity shifts, the behavior becomes natural. You're not forcing yourself to do something that contradicts who you are. You're simply acting in alignment with the person you've become. Let me share a powerful example. A man named Marcus decided he wanted to quit smoking after 15 years of a pack-a-day habit. He tried to quit many times before using willpower and always failed. This time he tried something different. Instead of saying, I'm trying to quit smoking, he simply started saying, I'm not a smoker. When someone offered him a cigarette at a party, instead of saying, I'm trying to quit, which implies struggle and potential failure, he said, I don't smoke, which states an identity. This subtle shift in language reflected a shift in identity, and it made all the difference. Within 6 months, he hadn't touched a cigarette. When asked how he did it, he said, I just started seeing myself as a non-smoker. And non-smokers don't smoke. It sounds simple, but it completely changed how I approached it. The research backs this up. Studies have shown that when people adopt an identity-based approach to change, they're significantly more likely to maintain new behaviors. Voters who think of themselves as politically engaged citizens are more likely to vote than those who just think voting is important. People who identify as healthy people make better food choices than those who are just trying to eat better. Your habits are literally shaping your identity. Every time you choose a salad over a burger, you're becoming a healthier person. Every time you choose to read instead of watch TV, you're becoming a more educated person. Every time you show up to practice, you're becoming an athlete. The question isn't, what do you want to achieve? The question is, who do you want to become? Chapter 2. The 4 Laws of Behavior Change. After studying the science of habits for years and analyzing thousands of success stories, a clear pattern emerges. Building good habits and breaking bad ones comes down to understanding and applying 4 fundamental laws. These aren't just theoretical concepts. They're practical tools you can use starting today. Law 1. Make it obvious. The fundamental truth. You can't change a habit you're not aware of, and you can't build a habit you don't remember to do. Let me tell you about Sarah, a journalist who wanted to drink more water. She knew she should drink 8 glasses a day, but by the time she got home from work, she'd realized she'd maybe had 1 or 2. Her problem wasn't motivation. She genuinely wanted to be healthier. Her problem was that drinking water wasn't obvious enough. Here's what she did. She bought 5 water bottles and placed them strategically throughout her day. 1 on her nightstand to drink first thing in the morning, 1 at her desk at work, 1 in her car, 1 in her living room, and 1 in the kitchen. The visual cue of seeing water everywhere made the habit impossible to ignore. Within 2 weeks, she was easily drinking 8 glasses a day without thinking about it. This is the power of making it obvious. Implementation intentions. The specificity secret. Harvard psychologist Peter Gallwitzer discovered something remarkable in the 1990s. People who make specific plans for when and where they'll execute a behavior are 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through. Instead of saying, I'll exercise more, vague and unlikely to happen, you say, I will exercise for 30 minutes at the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m., right after I wake up. The formula is simple: I will, behavior, in a location. Real examples from people who've made this work. I will meditate for 10 minutes at 7 a.m. in my bedroom, right after my alarm goes off. I will write for 30 minutes at 9 p.m. in my home office after putting my kids to bed. I will prep healthy meals every Sunday at 2 p.m. in my kitchen. A study of British voters found that participants who were asked to formulate specific plans about when and where they would vote were 25% more likely to actually vote. This wasn't about motivation or caring more. It was simply about making the intention obvious and specific. Habit stacking, piggybacking on success. One of the most powerful strategies for building new habits is to stack them on top of existing ones. This works because you already have dozens of habits ingrained in your daily routine. By linking a new habit to an existing one, you're borrowing the momentum from something you're already doing automatically. The formula: after I, current habit, I will, new habit. James Clear, who popularized this concept, shares his own morning routine as an example. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 60 seconds. After I meditate for 60 seconds, I will write my to-do list for the day. After I write my to-do list, I will immediately begin my first task. Each action becomes the cue for the next, creating a chain of behaviors that flow naturally from one to the next. A woman named Jennifer used habit stacking to transform her chaotic mornings. She stacked these habits. After my alarm goes off, I will drink a full glass of water. After I drink water, I will do 2 minutes of stretching. After I stretch, I will make my bed. After I make my bed, I will lay out my workout clothes. After I lay out my workout clothes, I will make breakfast. What used to be a rushed, stressful morning became a calm, productive start to her day, not through heroic willpower but through strategic stacking. Environmental design. Let your surroundings do the work. Here's a fascinating statistic. Researchers estimate that our environment shapes our behavior far more than our conscious choices do. Some studies suggest that environmental factors account for 70 to 80% of our behavioral patterns. This is both bad news and great news. Bad news because it means you might be struggling against your environment. Great news because it means you can redesign your environment to make good habits inevitable. A dramatic example: the U.S. military was shocked when soldiers returning from Vietnam continued using heroin at home, despite warnings about addiction. Researchers discovered something remarkable. Of the soldiers who were addicted to heroin in Vietnam, 90% quit immediately upon returning home without any treatment. Wow. Their environment changed completely. All the cues that triggered their drug use, the stress of combat, certain locations, social groups, vanished. You can use this principle deliberately. If you want to eat healthier, redesign your kitchen. Put fruits in a visible bowl on the counter. Store junk food on high shelves or in opaque containers. Keep healthy snacks at eye level in the fridge. Use smaller plates. Research shows this reduces consumption by 20 to 30%. A man named David wanted to watch less TV. He tried using willpower for weeks with no success. Finally, he unplugged the TV and put the power cord in the closet upstairs. Every time he wanted to watch, he'd have to go get the cord, plug everything back in, and then could watch. That small amount of friction reduced his TV watching by 75% within a month. Not through willpower, but through design. For breaking bad habits, invert this law. Make it invisible. Want to stop checking social media? Delete the apps from your phone. They're not gone forever. You can still access them on your computer, but removing them from your pocket makes them invisible in your most vulnerable moments. Law 2. Make it attractive. The fundamental truth: if a habit isn't appealing in some way, you won't stick with it. Your brain is wired to pursue rewards. In the 1950s, neuroscientists James Olds and Peter Milner discovered something startling. Rats with electrodes connected to their brain's reward centers would press a lever to stimulate that area over and over, up to 700 times per hour. They'd even choose the lever over food or water. This was the discovery of the dopamine system, and it revolutionized our understanding of habits. Dopamine isn't just released when you experience pleasure. It's released in anticipation of pleasure. It's the chemical that makes you want things. When you scroll through social media, dopamine spikes not from the content itself, but from the anticipation of what you might find. This is why it's so addictive. Each scroll promises a potential reward. You can harness this same neurological system to build good habits. Temptation bundling, pairing pain with pleasure. Katie Milkman, a professor at the Wharton School, developed a strategy she calls temptation bundling. The idea is simple. Pair an action you need to do with an action you want to do. Her personal example: she wanted to exercise more and also wanted to catch up on her favorite TV shows. So she made a rule: she could only watch her shows while exercising at the gym. She downloaded episodes to her iPad and only allowed herself to watch them on the treadmill or stationary bike. The result? She looked forward to going to the gym because it meant she got to watch her shows. Exercise became attractive because it was bundled with entertainment she craved. Other examples of temptation bundling: only listen to your favorite podcast while doing household chores. Only get your favorite coffee drink after sending 3 work emails. Only browse your favorite blog while waiting at the dentist's office. Only take a long bath after completing your evening routine. A businessman named Robert used temptation bundling to build a daily meditation practice. He loved expensive coffee but felt guilty buying it every day. His solution: he'd walk to an upscale coffee shop every morning, but only after completing a 15-minute meditation session. The coffee became his reward, and within a month, meditation was automatic. He even found himself looking forward to it because it meant guilt-free premium coffee was coming. Social influence: join the tribe. Humans are tribal creatures. We're hardwired to conform to the norms of our social groups. This is a survival mechanism. For most of human history, being ostracized from the tribe meant death. You can use this to your advantage. Want to build a new habit? Join a community where that behavior is normal. Consider the story of Maria, who wanted to start running but hated it. She tried multiple times, always quitting within a week. Then a coworker invited her to a running club. Suddenly, running wasn't just about forcing herself out of bed. It was about meeting her new friends, chatting during the run, and grabbing coffee afterward. Within 6 months, she'd run her first half marathon. When asked what changed, she said, "I just wanted to be the kind of person my running friends were. They made it look normal." Research from Nicholas Christakis at Harvard shows that your chances of becoming obese increase by 57% if you have a close friend who becomes obese. But the reverse is also true. You're more likely to be healthy if your friends are healthy, more likely to read if your friends read, more likely to exercise if your friends exercise. This is why choosing your environment and social circle is one of the most important decisions you can make for your habits. You don't just adopt habits. You adopt the identity and culture of the people around you. Reframing: change the story. The language you use to describe your habits matters more than you think. Every time you frame a habit negatively, you're making it less attractive. Instead of "I have to wake up early," try "I get to start my day with quiet time." Instead of "I need to exercise," try "I get to build a stronger body." Instead of "I should read more," try "I'm excited to learn something new." A woman named Rachel struggled with anxiety and knew meditation would help, but she resisted it for months. Every time she thought about meditating, she'd think, "I have to sit still and do nothing for 20 minutes. It felt like torture. A therapist suggested she reframe it: "I get to give myself 20 minutes of peace in a chaotic world." That simple shift made all the difference. Meditation became a gift rather than a chore. 4 breaking bad habits. Make them unattractive by highlighting the downsides. Every time you want to scroll social media, remind yourself, "This will make me feel anxious and leave me comparing myself to others." Every time you want to skip the gym, "I'll feel sluggish and disappointed in myself later." Law 3: make it easy. The fundamental truth: friction kills habits. If something is hard, uncomfortable, or inconvenient, you won't do it consistently, no matter how good your intentions. Let me share the story of Leo, a software developer who wanted to learn guitar. He bought an expensive guitar and put it in the closet in his spare room. For months it sat there. Every few weeks he'd think, "I should practice guitar," but it never happened. Then he had a simple realization: Getting the guitar out was too much work. He had to go to the spare room, open the closet, take the guitar out of its case, grab a pick, find a chair. By the time he'd done all that, his motivation had evaporated. So he made one change. He bought a guitar stand and put it in his living room where he watched TV every evening. Suddenly, the guitar was right there, visible and accessible. Within 2 months, he was playing for 15 to 20 minutes almost every evening. The habit wasn't about motivation. It was about reducing friction. The 2-minute rule: start stupidly small. This is perhaps the most powerful habit-building technique you'll ever learn. When starting a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Not 2 minutes eventually, 2 minutes from the start. Want to read more? The habit is read 1 page. Want to run a marathon? The habit is put on running shoes. Want to eat healthier? The habit is eat 1 fruit. Want to meditate? The habit is sit on my meditation cushion for 2 minutes. This sounds ridiculously simple, almost insultingly so. That's exactly the point. The philosophy is based on a simple truth. It's easier to continue doing something than it is to start doing something. The hardest part of exercise isn't the workout. It's putting on your gym clothes and getting out the door. The hardest part of writing isn't writing the full page. It's sitting down and writing the first sentence. A man named Tom wanted to build a daily journaling practice. He tried many times, always setting ambitious goals like, write 500 words about my day. He'd do it for 2 days, feel overwhelmed, and quit. Finally, he tried the 2-minute rule. His only requirement was to write 1 sentence. That's it. Most days, he'd write that 1 sentence and then keep going because momentum carried him. But on exhausted days, he'd write his sentence and stop, and that was fine. The habit was showing up, not hitting a word count. After 6 months, he'd written in his journal almost every single day. Some entries were a sentence. Some were pages. But the habit was established. Reduce friction everywhere. Amazon's one-click purchase button is worth billions of dollars to the company. Why? Because every additional click, every extra step between the user and the purchase, causes more people to abandon the transaction. They've spent millions of dollars reducing friction in the buying process. You can apply this same principle to your good habits. Want to exercise in the morning? Sleep in your workout clothes. Put your shoes by the bed. Want to eat healthier? Meal prep on Sunday so healthy food is grab and go. Want to practice an instrument? Keep it out and visible, not in a case. Want to floss? Keep floss picks on your bathroom counter, not in a drawer. Each of these small friction reducers makes the behavior marginally easier, and those margins add up to consistency. A particularly clever example: a woman named Diana wanted to stop wasting her evenings on her phone. She started leaving her phone in her car when she got home from work and wouldn't retrieve it until the next morning. This created significant friction. She'd have to put on shoes, go outside, unlock her car, just to check Instagram. That friction was enough to break the automatic habit. Instead, she started reading, cooking elaborate dinners, and going for evening walks. Her life transformed, not through willpower, but through strategic friction. Commitment devices: burning the ships. In 1519, Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés landed in Mexico with 600 men. Knowing his troops might want to retreat when things got difficult, he did something radical. He burned his ships. The only way forward was forward. This is the ultimate commitment device. You can create similar, less dramatic, commitment devices for your habits. Financial commitment. Use apps like StickK or BeMinder where you commit money that you'll lose if you don't follow through. Studies show people are more motivated by potential losses than potential gains. Social commitment. Tell everyone about your goal. Public accountability is powerful. A study found that people who shared their fitness goals publicly were 33% more likely to achieve them. Tech commitment. Use website blockers that won't let you access social media during work hours. Use app timers that shut down after a set period. Delete apps entirely from your phone. A writer named Chris wanted to finish his novel but kept getting distracted. He used Freedom, an app that blocks internet access. He scheduled it to block all internet from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. every morning. Initially, he tried to turn it off, but the app was designed to be difficult to disable. Eventually, he stopped fighting it, and those 3 hours became his most productive time. His book was finished in 6 months. 4 Breaking Bad Habits. Make them difficult. Unplug the TV after each use. Put junk food on high shelves. Make the bad habit require extra steps. Law 4. Make it satisfying. The fundamental truth: we repeat behaviors that feel rewarding. If a habit isn't immediately satisfying, we're unlikely to stick with it. Here's the problem with good habits: they often have delayed rewards. You don't lose weight after one healthy meal. You don't become educated after reading one book. You don't become financially secure after saving $20. The rewards come months or years later. Bad habits, on the other hand, have immediate rewards and delayed consequences. Eating donuts feels great right now, consequences come later. Scrolling social media provides instant entertainment. The wasted time and comparison anxiety come later. Skipping the gym feels good now, the declining health comes later. This time mismatch is why good habits are hard and bad habits are easy. The solution? Give yourself immediate satisfaction for completing good habits. The power of tracking. In the 1990s, a comedian named Jerry Seinfeld shared his productivity secret with a young comic. He said he had a simple method for becoming a better comedian: write jokes every single day. He hung a big calendar on his wall, and every day he wrote jokes, he put a big X through that day. After a few days you'll have a chain, he explained. Just keep at it and the chain will grow longer every day. Your only job is to not break the chain. This is habit tracking, and research shows it's remarkably effective. A study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine found that people who tracked their food intake lost twice as much weight as those who didn't track. Why does tracking work so well? 1. It's obvious. You see your progress, or lack thereof, immediately. 2. It's attractive. Seeing the chain of X's grow is satisfying. Your brain likes visual evidence of achievement. 3. It's satisfying. The act of checking off the habit provides immediate reward. A man named Brian wanted to build several new habits simultaneously: meditation, exercise, reading, and journaling. He created a simple habit tracker, a printed calendar with boxes for each habit each day. Every evening, he'd fill in the boxes for the habits he'd completed. He described it as oddly addictive. Some days, he'd do a habit just to get to fill in the box. Within 3 months, he'd established all 4 habits. The key insight about tracking: it provides immediate evidence that you're making progress, which satisfies your brain's need for instant gratification. Never miss twice, the rebound rule. Here's a reality you need to accept: you will miss days. You'll skip workouts. You'll eat junk food. You'll forget to meditate. This is normal and inevitable. The difference between people who build lasting habits and those who don't isn't that they never miss. It's how they respond to missing. Successful habit builders follow one iron rule: never miss twice. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new bad habit. A woman named Priya had a perfect 100-day meditation streak. On day 101, she woke up late, rushed to work, and completely forgot to meditate. She was devastated. Her perfect streak was broken. She told her meditation teacher about it, expecting sympathy. Instead, he said, "That's great news." "What do you mean?" she asked. "Now you know you can maintain your practice even when you're not perfect." The streak was nice, but it was also fragile. Now you get to prove you're committed regardless of perfect records. The next day, Priya meditated. Her practice continued for years after that, with many missed days sprinkled throughout. But she never missed twice in a row. That rule made all the difference. Celebrate small wins. Your brain learns to love or hate behaviors based on the immediate feeling associated with them. This is why celebrating small wins is crucial. After you complete a habit, any habit, take a moment to feel successful. Smile. Say yes out loud. Give yourself a mental high five. These might seem silly, but they're not. You're literally training your brain to associate the behavior with positive feelings. A therapist named Nicole had clients who struggled with negative self-talk. She gave them a simple assignment. Every time they did something they'd been putting off, exercise, cleaning, calling a friend, they had to look in the mirror and say, "Good job." Name. "I'm proud of you." Her clients initially found this mortifying. But those who stuck with it reported something remarkable. The behaviors became easier over time. They'd think about going to the gym and feel a little flutter of anticipation rather than dread. Their brains had learned to associate the behavior with that moment of self-praise. B.J. Fogg, a behavior scientist at Stanford, calls this shine, a moment of positive feeling right after completing a habit. He argues it's the most underutilized tool in behavior change. Most people focus on starting the behavior. Fogg says the key is what happens immediately after. 4 breaking bad habits. Make them unsatisfying. Get an accountability partner who checks on you. If you skip your habit, you have to tell them why. The social accountability makes failure uncomfortable. Create a habit contract with stakes. One man who wanted to stop biting his nails made a deal with his wife. Every time she caught him biting his nails, he had to immediately donate $10 to a political organization he despised. Within weeks, the habit was gone. Chapter 3: Starting your habit journey. Now comes the practical part, actually building your habits. This is where knowledge meets action and where most people struggle. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they try to do too much too fast. Step 1. Choose wisely, the 1 habit rule. On January 1st of any given year, the average person sets 3 to 5 new goals. They want to exercise more, eat better, save money, learn a language, and read more books, all at once. By February, 92% of these resolutions have been abandoned. The problem isn't lack of motivation. The problem is that willpower is a finite resource, and change requires mental energy. When you try to change everything simultaneously, you deplete your willpower quickly and fail at everything. The solution is counterintuitive. Choose just 1 habit. Maybe 2 if they're very small. That's it. I know what you're thinking, but I have so many things I want to change. I hear you. But here's the truth. It's better to successfully build 1 habit than to fail at 5. Consider the story of Michael Phelps's coach, Bob Bowman. When Phelps was a teenager, Bowman didn't try to optimize everything at once. He focused on 1 thing, showing up to practice consistently. That was the keystone habit. Once that was solid, they built on it. Eventually, Phelps was training 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. But it started with 1 habit: show up. How to choose your first habit. Ask yourself, which single habit, if I did it consistently, would make the biggest positive impact on my life? Some guiding questions. What habit would make everything else easier or unnecessary? What's causing me the most stress or dissatisfaction right now? What small change would have ripple effects in other areas? For some people, it's exercising. They sleep better, eat better, and feel more confident as a result. For others, it's making their bed every morning. It creates a sense of accomplishment that carries through the day. For others, it's going to bed at a consistent time. Better sleep improves everything else. A man named Victor realized his keystone habit was waking up at 6 a.m. When he woke up early, he had time to exercise, eat breakfast, and start work early. This made him more productive, less stressed, and more present with his family in the evening. Conversely, when he slept in, his entire day was compressed and chaotic. He focused exclusively on the wake-up time for 3 months. Once that was solid, the other habits fell into place naturally. Step 2. Start ridiculously small, the minimum viable habit. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They choose a habit like exercise for an hour every day and wonder why they fail after 3 days. Remember the 2-minute rule from Chapter 2? This is where you apply it ruthlessly. Your initial habit should be so small, so easy that it seems almost laughable. You should feel slightly embarrassed by how easy it is. That's when you know you've sized it correctly. Examples of ridiculously small habits. Want to meditate? Start with 3 deep breaths. Want to read more? Start with 1 page. Want to exercise? Start with 1 push-up or just putting on workout clothes. Want to journal? Start with 1 sentence. Want to learn a language? Start with 1 word per day. Want to eat healthier? Start with adding 1 vegetable to 1 meal. A woman named Ashley wanted to start running. She'd been sedentary for years and was intimidated by the idea of running. She committed to putting on her running shoes and stepping outside her front door every morning. That was the entire habit. For the first week, she'd step outside, take a breath of fresh air, and go back inside. It felt silly, but it worked. In week 2, she started walking to the end of the driveway. Week 3, she walked around the block. By month 2, she was jogging lightly. 6 months later, she ran her first 5K. When asked how she did it, she said, "I just made the habit so easy I couldn't say no. Once I was outside with my shoes on, I usually wanted to do more. But the commitment was just to show up." This is the genius of starting small. You're not relying on motivation or willpower to complete the habit. You're building the identity of someone who shows up consistently. The rest follows naturally. Step 3. Stack it, the power of association. Once you've chosen your ridiculously small habit, you need to anchor it to something that already exists in your life. This is where habit stacking comes in. The formula again, after current habit, I will, new habit. The key is choosing the right anchor. It should be something you already do every day without fail, at approximately the right time for your new habit, in a logical location for your new habit. Strong anchors. After I pour my morning coffee, after I sit down at my desk, after I put my kids to bed, after I turn off my car in the driveway, after I close my laptop for the day, after I set my alarm at night. Weak anchors. After I feel motivated, after work, too vague, when I have time, if I remember. A personal trainer named Marcus wanted to start stretching daily but could never remember. He decided to stack it. After I take off my work shoes, I will do 2 minutes of stretching in the living room. This worked because taking off his shoes was automatic and happened at the perfect time, right when his body was tight from work. Within a month, the habit was so automatic that his body would start craving the stretch as soon as he got home. His wife even commented that she could set her watch by his stretching routine. You can also create longer chains. Morning routine stack. After my alarm goes off, I will drink a glass of water on my nightstand. After I drink water, I will make my bed. After I make my bed, I will do 10 push-ups. After I do push-ups, I will take a cold shower. After my shower, I will write 3 things I'm grateful for. Each habit cues the next, creating a cascade of positive behaviors. Step 4. Track it, visual proof of progress. Get a calendar, physical or digital, and mark every day you complete your habit. Use a big, satisfying X or check mark. This simple act is surprisingly powerful. Jerry Seinfeld's "Don't Break the Chain" method works because it provides immediate visual feedback. It creates a game-like quality. How long can you make the chain? It makes missing a day psychologically costly. You don't want to break the chain. It shows you patterns. Maybe you always miss on Fridays, revealing a problem to solve. A study of exercise habits found that people who tracked their workouts exercised 2 to 3 times more frequently than those who didn't track. The tracking itself became a mini reward. There are countless ways to track. Paper calendar on your wall, old school but effective. Habit tracking apps, Streaks, Habitica, Way of Life. A simple notebook with daily checkboxes. A jar where you add a marble for each completion. A spreadsheet if you're data-oriented. The method doesn't matter. What matters is that you track consistently and that the tracking is satisfying. A programmer named Ethan created an elaborate spreadsheet to track 5 habits with graphs showing his consistency over time. He described checking off habits as strangely addictive. Some mornings, he'd complete a habit primarily because he wanted to maintain his tracking streak. The tracking became its own motivation. Step 5. Plan for obstacles. If then planning, you will face obstacles. This is certain. The question isn't whether obstacles will appear, but whether you've planned for them. Most people rely on motivation to push through obstacles. This is a mistake. Motivation is fleeting. What you need is a system for dealing with obstacles before they arise. Enter if-then planning, also called implementation intentions for obstacles. The formula, if, obstacle, then I will, solution. Examples. If I'm too tired to go to the gym, then I'll do a 10-minute workout at home. If I forget to meditate in the morning, then I'll do it during my lunch break. If it's raining on my running day, then I'll use my indoor exercise bike. If I'm traveling and can't access my gym, then I'll do bodyweight exercises in my hotel room. If I'm too busy to read for 20 minutes, then I'll read for just 2 minutes. Notice these aren't excuses, they're alternative pathways to maintain the habit in a modified form. An entrepreneur named Lisa wanted to exercise daily but traveled frequently for work. She created a comprehensive obstacle plan. If I'm traveling, then I'll pack resistance bands and do a hotel room workout. If I'm exhausted from meetings, then I'll do just 5 minutes of yoga. If I miss my morning workout, then I'll do it in the evening after dinner. If the hotel doesn't have a gym, then I'll do a bodyweight circuit. With these plans in place, she maintained her exercise habit through 6 months of heavy travel. Her secret? She never relied on figuring it out in the moment. The decisions were already made. Step 6. Prepare your environment, setting up for success. The night before you start your habit, prepare your environment. Remember, make it obvious, make it easy. If your habit is morning exercise, lay out your workout clothes the night before, fill your water bottle and put it by the bed, set your alarm across the room, so you have to get up, cue up your workout playlist or video. Put your gym shoes by the door. If your habit is healthy eating, meal prep your lunches on Sunday. Pre-cut vegetables and store them at eye level in clear containers. Put fruit in a visible bowl on the counter. Hide or remove junk food. Make a shopping list of only healthy items. If your habit is reading, put your book on your pillow. Create a cozy reading nook. Turn off TV before bed and put the remote in a drawer. Download books to your phone for unexpected free time. Set a daily reading reminder on your phone. A college student named Derek wanted to stop scrolling social media before bed and read instead. He created a ritual. Every evening at 9 p.m. he'd put his phone on a charger in the kitchen, not the bedroom, grab his book from his nightstand and read until sleepy. The physical separation from his phone and the visual cue of the book created an environment where the good habit was easy and the bad habit was difficult. Step 7. Start tomorrow, or better yet today. You've done the planning. You know your habit, your stack, your tracking method, and your obstacle plan. Now comes the most important step. Start. Not next Monday. Not next month. Not when things calm down. Today. Or tomorrow morning at the latest. There's a powerful psychological principle at play here. The longer you wait to start, the less likely you are to ever begin. Your brain will generate endless reasons to delay. I should wait until I'm more prepared. I'll start after this stressful week. Let me do more research first. These are all forms of resistance. Your brain is protecting you from change because change requires energy and involves uncertainty. The antidote is immediate action. Small action, yes. Imperfect action, absolutely. But action nonetheless. Right now, before reading further, do this. Write down your one habit. Write down when and where you'll do it. Write down what existing habit you'll stack it with. Set up your tracking method. Do the habit right now, even if it's just for 30 seconds. A therapist named Dr. Chen tells her clients, don't wait until you're motivated to start. Start and motivation will follow. She's found that people who start immediately, even messily, succeed far more often than people who plan extensively but delay starting. Chapter 4. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Let me share some hard-earned wisdom from people who've tried to build habits and failed, then tried again and succeeded. These are the obstacles that will test you, and the strategies that will help you overcome them. Pitfall 1. Relying on motivation. Here's a conversation that plays out in my inbox regularly. I started strong. I was so motivated the first week. I exercised every day, ate perfectly, meditated morning and evening. But then the motivation faded and I stopped everything. This is the motivation trap, and nearly everyone falls into it at first. Motivation is like kindling. It's great for starting a fire but terrible for sustaining one. It burns hot and fast, then disappears. If you're relying on motivation to maintain your habits, you will fail. Full stop. Successful habit builders don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems, environment design, and identity. Consider professional athletes. Do you think they feel motivated to train every single day? Of course not. Some days they're tired, sore, unmotivated. But they train anyway because they've built systems that make training automatic. It's not a choice they make daily, it's just what they do. A writer named Stephen King has written over 60 novels. When asked about his writing process, he said he writes 2,000 words every single day, holidays, birthdays, even when sick. Is he motivated every day? No. But motivation isn't the system. The system is, wake up, sit down, write 2,000 words. No decisions, no debate, no waiting for inspiration. Solution: build systems that make the behavior automatic regardless of how you feel. Use implementation intentions, habit stacking, and environmental design. Make motivation irrelevant. Pitfall 2. Setting vague goals. I want to exercise more. I should read more books. I need to be more productive. These aren't plans, they're wishes. And wishes don't become habits. Vague goals give you nowhere to start and no way to measure success. When exactly will you exercise? What counts as more? How will you know if you succeeded? Compare these vague wishes to specific commitments. I will walk for 20 minutes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. in my neighborhood. I will read for 15 minutes every night at 9:30 p.m. in my bedroom before sleep. I will write my 3 most important tasks every morning at 8 a.m. after making coffee. Notice the difference? Specific goals give you clarity. You know exactly what to do, when to do it, and where to do it. There's no ambiguity, no room for negotiation. A researcher at the University of Pennsylvania studied New Year's resolutions and found that people who made specific, measurable commitments were 10 times more likely to achieve their goals than those who made vague commitments. Solution: use the implementation intention formula. I will, behavior, at time, in a location. Be obsessively specific. Pitfall 3. Going all in, the overcommitment death spiral. January 1st arrives. You're pumped. You commit to exercising 6 days a week, meditating for 30 minutes daily, reading for an hour every night, learning Spanish for 45 minutes a day, journaling every morning, eating perfect paleo diet, waking up at 5 a.m. By January 15th, you've abandoned everything and feel like a failure. This is the overcommitment death spiral, and it's one of the most common ways people sabotage themselves. The problem is twofold. First, building multiple habits simultaneously drains your willpower quickly. Second, when you inevitably fail at one habit, it creates a cascade effect. You feel like a failure, which saps your motivation for the other habits, and soon you've abandoned everything. Research on willpower shows it operates like a muscle. It gets tired with use. When you're trying to change 5 behaviors at once, you're constantly depleting your willpower reserves. Eventually, you have none left and you revert to your old patterns. A personal story from a man named Greg illustrates this perfectly. I tried to overhaul my entire life on my 35th birthday. New diet, new exercise program, new morning routine, learning guitar, reading every night. I lasted exactly 11 days before I cracked. I felt so defeated that I didn't try to change anything for another year. When I finally tried again, I picked one thing: walking for 15 minutes after lunch. Just that. I mastered that over 2 months, then added a second habit. This time it worked. Solution: master one habit, maybe 2 tiny ones, before adding another. Build slowly, build steadily. A year from now, you could have 4 to 6 solid new habits. Try to build them all at once, and a year from now you'll have none. Pitfall 4. Forgetting your identity. You've been focused on actions and outcomes, doing the behavior, hitting the target. But you've forgotten the deeper level: identity. People who successfully maintain habits don't just do different things, they become different people. They shift their identity. When you identify as a runner, going for a run isn't a chore you force yourself through, it's just what runners do. When you identify as a reader, reading isn't something you should do more of, it's part of who you are. The subtle shift from "I'm trying to quit smoking" to "I'm not a smoker" is psychologically profound. The first frames you as someone fighting against your nature. The second frames the behavior as inconsistent with your identity. A woman named Sarah struggled with her weight for years. She'd go on diets, lose weight, then gain it back. The cycle repeated endlessly. Finally, a nutritionist asked her, "What kind of person do you want to be?" "I want to be a healthy person," Sarah answered. Then start asking yourself, what would a healthy person do? When you're deciding what to eat, what would a healthy person choose? When you're deciding whether to exercise, what would a healthy person do? Every decision is a vote for your identity. This reframing changed everything for Sarah. She stopped thinking about diets and started thinking about identity. Within a year, she'd lost 40 pounds. But more importantly, she'd become someone who naturally made healthy choices. Solution: regularly ask yourself, what type of person do I want to become? Then ask, what would that person do in this situation? Every action is a vote for your identity. Cast your votes deliberately. Pitfall 5. Breaking the chain and giving up. You've maintained your habit for 30 days. You're feeling great. Then life happens, you get sick, work explodes, family emergency, whatever. You miss a day. Then another day. Then you think, well, I've already broken my streak. Might as well give up. This is the abandonment mindset, and it destroys more habit-building efforts than any other factor. Here's the truth: you will miss days. You will have setbacks. This is guaranteed. The difference between people who succeed and people who fail isn't that successful people never miss. It's that they get back on track immediately. Remember the golden rule: never miss twice. Missing once is an accident, a blip, a temporary setback. Missing twice is the beginning of a new habit, the habit of not doing the thing. A marathon runner named Paulo had this philosophy: I don't need to be perfect. I just need to never miss twice. If I miss my Monday run, I absolutely must run on Tuesday, even if it's just for 10 minutes. That non-negotiable rule has kept me running consistently for 8 years. Research on habit formation shows that missing a single day has almost no impact on long-term habit formation. But missing consecutively creates a pattern that becomes harder to break. Solution: accept that you'll miss sometimes. When it happens, don't waste energy feeling guilty. Just commit to getting back on track immediately. Your streak isn't as important as your comeback. Pitfall 6. Making it too hard too fast. You started with 1 push-up a day. After a week you thought, this is too easy. I should do 50. So you ramped up dramatically. 2 days later you're exhausted and sore and you skip a day. Then another. The habit dies. This is the premature escalation trap. When a habit feels easy, our instinct is to make it harder to match our larger ambitions. But this often backfires because we escalate too quickly, make the habit too difficult, and lose the momentum we'd built. The research on habit formation suggests you should increase difficulty by no more than 10% at a time. If you're walking for 10 minutes, increase to 11 minutes, not 30 minutes. If you're meditating for 5 minutes, increase to 5.5 minutes or 6 minutes, not 20 minutes. A fitness coach named Amanda calls this ego escalation, when your ego pushes you to do more than you're ready for. She tells clients, your ego wants you to do the impressive thing today. Your habits need you to do the sustainable thing for the next 6 months. Listen to the habits. Solution: follow the 10% rule. Increase difficulty gradually. Prioritize consistency over intensity. It's better to maintain a small habit forever than to attempt a huge habit for 2 weeks. Pitfall 7. Focusing only on the outcome. You want to lose 30 pounds? So you weigh yourself every day, obsessing over the number. When it doesn't drop fast enough, you get discouraged and quit. This is the outcome obsession trap. Outcomes are important for setting direction, but they're terrible for daily motivation because they're lagging indicators. You do the work today, but the outcome appears weeks or months later. This creates a motivation gap. Systems-focused people, on the other hand, measure inputs rather than outcomes. Instead of, did I lose weight this week? They ask, did I follow my system this week? Instead of, am I a successful writer yet? They ask, did I write today? James Clear popularized this distinction. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. A business owner named Frank wanted to grow his company's revenue. For years, he'd obsess over monthly revenue numbers, which fluctuated wildly and left him stressed. Then he shifted focus. Instead of tracking revenue outcome, he tracked daily sales calls system. His only job was to make 10 quality sales calls per day. As long as he hit that number, he considered the day successful regardless of immediate results. Within 6 months, his revenue had doubled, not because he focused on revenue but because he focused on the system that generated revenue. Solution: focus on executing your system. Trust that if you follow the process consistently, the outcomes will take care of themselves. Measure success by whether you did the behavior, not whether you got the result. Chapter 5. Advanced Habit Strategies. You've mastered the basics. You've built a few solid habits. Now let's explore some advanced techniques that can take your habit-building practice to the next level. Habit Stacking 2.0. Building Routines. Basic habit stacking links one new habit to one existing habit. Advanced habit stacking creates entire routines by chaining multiple habits together into a sequence. The power of routines is that you only need willpower to start the first habit. The rest flow automatically from there. Morning routine example. After my alarm goes off, I will put my feet on the floor. After my feet hit the floor, I will drink the glass of water on my nightstand. After I drink water, I will make my bed. After I make my bed, I will do 10 push-ups. After I do push-ups, I will take a cold shower. After my shower, I will meditate for 10 minutes. After I meditate, I will write 3 things I'm grateful for. After I journal, I will review my 3 priorities for the day. Each habit cues the next, creating a cascade that happens almost automatically once triggered. A CEO named Richard transformed his productivity by creating 3 routines: morning, midday, and evening. His morning routine took about 45 minutes and set him up for a productive day. His midday routine after lunch was just 10 minutes and helped him reset for the afternoon. His evening routine before bed took 20 minutes and ensured quality sleep. He described these routines as the foundation of everything else in my life. The key to building routines: start with 1 or 2 habits, master them until they're automatic, then add the next habit in the chain. Build the routine gradually over weeks or months. The Goldilocks rule: finding your sweet spot. Habits are most engaging and sustainable when they're just challenging enough. Not too easy, not too hard, but right at the edge of your current abilities. This is called the Goldilocks rule, and it's based on research showing that people experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right at the edge of their capability, about 4% beyond their current skill level. Too easy and you get bored. Your brain isn't engaged and the habit feels pointless. Too hard and you get frustrated. You feel like you're failing and you quit. Just right and you enter a flow state where the habit is both challenging and enjoyable. A pianist named Elena experienced this perfectly. When she started piano, simple songs were challenging and engaging. After a year, those same songs were boring. She needed harder pieces to stay motivated. But when she jumped to extremely difficult pieces, she felt overwhelmed and wanted to quit. The sweet spot was pieces that stretched her abilities slightly, challenging enough to require focus, easy enough that she could complete them with effort. How to apply this? Start easy to build consistency. Once a habit feels automatic, increase difficulty by 10%. If you find yourself bored, add challenge. If you find yourself consistently failing, reduce difficulty. Aim for challenging but achievable. A weightlifter uses this instinctively through progressive overload, adding small amounts of weight over time, always working at the edge of their capability. You can apply the same principle to any habit. Environment optimization, designing your life. Your environment is the invisible hand shaping your behavior. Most people drastically underestimate how much their surroundings influence their actions. Want proof? In one study, researchers changed the default option on organ donation forms. In countries where people had to actively opt in to donate organs, only 4 to 28% of people became donors. In countries where people were automatically enrolled but could opt out if they wanted, 86 to 99.9% became donors. Same decision, but the default environment changed everything. You can deliberately design your environment to make good habits inevitable and bad habits nearly impossible. For productivity, remove all potential distractions from your workspace: phone, clutter, unnecessary tabs. Use website blockers during focus time. Keep your desk bare except for current projects. Face away from windows or interesting views. Use noise-canceling headphones even in quiet spaces. Create psychological barrier. For health and fitness, put your gym shoes by the bed. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Keep a water bottle in every room. Make healthy snacks the most visible and accessible foods. Store junk food on high shelves in opaque containers, or don't buy it. Use smaller plates and bowls. Research shows this reduces consumption by 20 to 30%. For better sleep, make your bedroom cold, around 65 degrees Fahrenheit per 18 degrees Celsius. Install blackout curtains. Remove all screens from the bedroom. Keep your phone charging in another room. Use your bed only for sleep, not work, TV, or phone use. 4. Reducing phone addiction. Delete social media apps you can still access via browser, but the friction matters. Turn off all notifications except calls and messages from favorites. Use grayscale mode, makes phone less visually appealing. Keep phone in another room while working. Establish phone-free zones, bedroom, dining table, car. A family therapist named Dr. Martinez had a client couple who fought constantly about screen time. Instead of nagging or setting rules, they redesigned their environment. They removed the TV from the living room and replaced it with a bookshelf and board games. The first week was uncomfortable. But within a month they were reading together, playing games, and having actual conversations. The behavior changed because the environment changed. The one environment, one use rule. Your brain creates associations between environments and behaviors. If you work in bed, your brain associates bed with work, making sleep harder. If you watch TV at your desk, your brain associates your desk with entertainment, making focus harder. Solution: use each environment for one primary purpose. Bed for sleep, desk for work, couch for relaxation, dining table for meals and conversation. This creates clear contextual cues that make the appropriate behaviors automatic. The paperclip strategy: tangible progress. This is one of the simplest but most powerful tracking methods, especially for habits you do multiple times per day. Get 2 glass jars and 120 paper clips. Put all the clips in one jar. Each time you complete your habit, move one paper clip from the full jar to the empty jar. Why this works? It's visual. You can see your progress accumulating. It's satisfying. The physical act of moving a clip provides a small reward. It's motivating. The growing pile of clips in the empty jar encourages you to keep going. It prevents 0 days. You always want at least one clip moved. A sales rep used this for making cold calls, the task he hated most. Each morning he'd put 50 paper clips in the left jar. Each call he made, he'd move one clip to the right jar. His only goal was to empty the left jar. This simple visual tool transformed his discipline. Instead of dreading calls, he focused on moving clips. Within 3 months, his sales had increased 40%. You can adapt this for countless habits. Glasses of water, pages read, minutes exercised, vegetables eaten, grateful moments noted. The Seinfeld strategy: don't break the chain. We covered this earlier, but it deserves its own section because it's that powerful. Comedian Jerry Seinfeld's advice to a young comic: get a big wall calendar. Each day you write jokes, put a big red X over that day. After a few days you'll have a chain. Your only job is to keep the chain going. This works because it gamifies the habit. You're trying to beat your record. It makes missing visible and psychologically costly. You don't want to break the chain. It provides immediate feedback. You can see your consistency or lack thereof. It focuses you on the process, not the outcome. A software developer named Kevin used this to finally learn Japanese, something he'd wanted to do for years. He put a calendar on his wall with one rule: practice Japanese for at least 2 minutes every day. X marks the days completed. He built a 365-day chain, an entire year without missing a day. When asked how, he said, "After about 30 days, I became obsessed with not breaking the chain. Some days I was exhausted and only did 2 minutes. But I did something every single day." The key insight: the chain becomes valuable in itself. You're not just maintaining a habit, you're maintaining your chain, which feels like an accomplishment worth protecting. Habit contracts, social accountability. A habit contract is a formal or informal agreement where you commit to your habit and specify consequences for failure. You often involve another person to hold you accountable. The format is simple. I, name, commit to, habit, every, frequency. If I fail, I will, consequence, signed, your name, witness, accountability partner. The consequence should be meaningful to you. Some options: financial, Donate $50 to a cause you hate. Social, post on social media admitting failure. Service, do a favor for your accountability partner. Pride, tell someone you respect that you failed. A writer named Thomas Bryan used this to finish his novel. He made a public commitment on Twitter. Write 500 words every day or donate $50 to a political organization he despised. His followers held him accountable. The threat of donating kept him writing even when motivation faded. His book was finished in 6 months. Research shows that people who make public commitments are 33% more likely to achieve their goals than those who keep commitments private. The social pressure activates different motivational circuits in your brain. Chapter 6: Breaking Bad Habits. Everything we've discussed applies to building good habits. But what about breaking bad ones? The principles are the same but inverted. Inversion of the 4 laws. 1. Make it invisible. Remember how making good habits obvious increases the likelihood of doing them? The reverse is true for bad habits. Remove the cues. Examples: want to stop eating junk food? Don't keep it in the house. Can't eat cookies that aren't there. Want to stop watching too much TV? Unplug it after each use and put the remote in a drawer. Want to stop checking social media constantly? Delete the apps from your phone. Want to stop online shopping impulsively? Remove saved payment methods from sites. A woman named Jennifer was addicted to online shopping. She'd browse retail sites during work breaks and often made impulsive purchases she regretted. She tried using willpower. It failed. Then she made it invisible. She deleted all shopping apps, cleared her browser bookmarks, and removed all saved credit card information from websites. Now if she wanted to shop, she'd have to type in the URL, navigate the site, and manually enter her card details. That friction reduced her impulse purchases by 90%. 2. Make it unattractive. 4 good habits, we bundle them with things we enjoy. 4 bad habits, we highlight their costs and pair them with things we dislike. Examples: want to quit smoking? Every time you crave a cigarette, visualize the tar accumulating in your lungs. Want to stop scrolling social media? Remind yourself, this makes me feel anxious and jealous. Want to stop eating fast food? Before ordering, imagine how sluggish you'll feel after. Want to stop procrastinating? Visualize your future self stressed and rushed, dealing with the consequences. A man named Robert struggled with late-night snacking, particularly ice cream. His nutritionist had him create a cost list, all the negative consequences of the habit: disrupted sleep, weight gain, blood sugar crashes, guilt, setting a bad example for his kids. Before opening the freezer, he'd review this list. Just pausing to remember the costs made the habit significantly less attractive. Reframe the bad habit. Instead of, I can't have a cigarette, think, I don't smoke because I'm not a smoker. Instead of, I can't have dessert, think, I don't eat dessert because I prioritize my health. This shifts from deprivation to identity. 3. Make it difficult. If good habits should be easy, bad habits should be hard. Add friction. Create obstacles. Examples: want to stop wasting time on your phone in bed? Charge it in another room. Want to stop impulse purchases? Implement a 48-hour rule. Wait 2 days before buying anything non-essential. Want to stop eating mindlessly? Store snacks in hard-to-reach places. Don't bring any to your desk or couch. Want to stop procrastinating on social media? Use website blockers that require a 30-character password to disable. A man named Chris was spending 4 to 5 hours per day playing video games. He knew it was a problem but couldn't stop. Finally, he made it difficult. After each gaming session, he'd unplug the console and put it in the closet. He'd also change his account password to something complex and log out. This meant that starting a gaming session required getting the console from the closet, plugging it in, logging back in with the complex password. Most evenings, he decided the friction wasn't worth it and did something else instead. Within 2 months, his gaming dropped to less than an hour per week, not through willpower but through friction. 4. Make it unsatisfying. Good habits should provide immediate rewards. Bad habits should provide immediate, or at least quick, punishment. Examples: get an accountability partner who checks in daily. Having to admit failure to someone you respect is unsatisfying. Create a habit contract with financial consequences. Donate to a cause you hate if you fail. Track bad habit streaks visibly. Put a mark on a calendar every day you don't do the bad habit. Breaking the streak is unsatisfying. Use commitment devices like Forest app. Plant a virtual tree that dies if you use your phone. A student named Amanda struggled with staying up too late scrolling her phone. She made a deal with her roommate. If her roommate caught her on her phone after 11 p.m., Amanda had to do the roommate's chores the next day. The threat of extra chores made late-night scrolling immediately unsatisfying. Within 2 weeks, the habit was broken. The replacement strategy: fill the void. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you simply remove a bad habit without replacing it, you'll feel a void that pulls you back to the old behavior. The solution: replace the bad habit with a good one that provides a similar reward. Remember the woman Lisa who quit smoking by going outside for breaks and chatting with colleagues? She identified the reward, break, social time, fresh air, and found a new routine that provided the same reward without smoking. Common bad habits and their replacement strategies. Mindless snacking while watching TV. Replace with preparing and eating cut vegetables, knitting, doing a puzzle, foam rolling. Same reward, keeps hands busy, provides sensory satisfaction. Scrolling social media when bored. Replace with reading an article, calling a friend, taking a short walk, journaling. Same reward, mental stimulation, distraction from discomfort. Drinking alcohol to relax after work. Replace with taking a hot bath, doing yoga, listening to calming music, talking with a friend. Same reward, relaxation, stress relief, transition from work mode. Hitting snooze repeatedly. Replace with going to bed 30 minutes earlier, putting alarm across room, doing 10 jumping jacks immediately. Same reward, extra rest, but from earlier bedtime, gentle wake up for movement. A therapist named Dr. Wilson helped clients identify the reward their bad habit provided, then brainstorm healthier ways to get that same reward. One client constantly bit his nails when anxious. The real need was something to do with his hands during stress. Dr. Wilson suggested stress balls, fidget spinners, and squeezing exercises. The client found that carrying a small stress ball gave him the same outlet without the nail damage. The awareness step: pointing and calling. Before you can change a bad habit, you need to become aware of it. Most bad habits operate unconsciously. You do them without realizing it. Japanese railway workers use a technique called pointing and calling to reduce errors. When they need to check something, they physically point at it and verbally call out what they're seeing. Signal is green. This raises awareness and reduces mistakes by up to 85%. You can use a similar technique for bad habits. Every time you notice yourself doing the bad habit, verbally acknowledge it out loud. I'm reaching for my phone right now. I'm about to eat this cookie. I'm starting to procrastinate on this task. This simple act of verbalization brings the unconscious behavior into conscious awareness, giving you a choice point. You might still do the behavior, but at least you're aware of it. Over time, awareness itself starts to change the behavior. A man named Joel was constantly checking his phone, dozens of times per hour. He started using pointing and calling. Every time he picked up his phone, he'd say out loud, "Checking phone." Initially, it didn't stop the behavior, but it made him aware of how often he was doing it, way more than he'd realized. Within a week, the awareness alone started changing the behavior. The act of saying it out loud made the habit slightly embarrassing, and he started catching himself before picking up the phone. The substitution method. When you feel the urge to engage in a bad habit, immediately substitute a different behavior, ideally one that's incompatible with the bad habit. Examples: feel the urge to smoke? Do 10 push-ups instead. Can't smoke while doing push-ups. Want to mindlessly scroll? Hold a stress ball in both hands. Can't scroll with full hands. Craving junk food? Chew sugar-free gum. Satisfies oral fixation. Want to check email compulsively? Take 3 deep breaths. Incompatible with anxious checking. The key is immediate substitution. The moment you notice the urge, execute the substitute behavior without debate or delay. A woman named Patricia struggled with nervous nail biting. Every time she caught herself bringing her hand to her mouth, She'd immediately sit on her hands for 60 seconds. It felt awkward, but it worked. The substitute behavior, sitting on hands, was incompatible with nail biting and gave the urge time to pass. Within 3 months, the nail biting had virtually stopped. Chapter 7. Your 30-Day Habit Challenge. You've learned the theory. You've seen the strategies. Now it's time to put it all into practice with a structured 30-day challenge. This isn't just a random time frame. Research shows that 30 days is long enough to establish the foundation of a habit while being short enough to feel achievable. You're not committing to forever. You're committing to 30 days. Week 1. Choose and prepare, days 1 to 7. Day 1 to 2. Select your habit. Choose one habit. I know you're tempted to do more. Don't. Ask yourself, which single habit would have the biggest positive impact on my life right now? What's the smallest version of this habit I could commit to? Can I do this in 2 minutes or less? Write down your habit using this formula. I will, behavior, in a location. Example, I will do 10 push-ups at 7 a.m. in my bedroom after my alarm goes off. Day 3 to 4. Design your environment. Prepare your environment to make the habit obvious and easy. What cues can you create? What obstacles can you remove? What preparation can you do the night before? Example, if your habit is morning exercise, lay out your workout clothes before bed, fill your water bottle, cue up your workout video. Day 5 to 6. Set up tracking. Choose your tracking method. Wall calendar with X's. Habit tracking app. Notebook with check boxes. Jar with paper clips or marbles. Put it somewhere you'll see it multiple times per day. Day 7. Create your obstacle plan. Write down potential obstacles and your solutions. If obstacle, then I will, solution. Examples. If I oversleep, then I'll do my habit during lunch. If I'm traveling, then I'll do a modified 5-minute version. If I'm sick, then I'll do the absolute minimum, 1 rep, 1 minute, etc. End of week 1 check. Have you chosen one specific habit? Is your environment prepared? Is your tracking system ready? Have you identified potential obstacles and solutions? Week 2. Establish consistency, days 8 to 14. This week is about one thing, showing up every single day no matter what. Your only job, complete your habit every day and track it. Some days will feel easy. Some will feel hard. Both are fine. Just show up. Daily practice. Do your habit at the planned time. Immediately mark it in your tracking system. Celebrate, smile, say yes. Give yourself a mental high five. If you miss a day, don't panic. Don't feel guilty. Don't abandon the challenge. Just commit absolutely to doing it the next day. Remember, never miss twice. If it feels too easy, good. That's the point. Resist the urge to make it harder yet. Build the consistency first. You can increase difficulty later. If it feels too hard, scale it back. If you committed to 20 minutes of exercise but can barely do 5, change your commitment to 5 minutes. Better to succeed at a smaller habit than fail at a larger one. End of week 2 check. How many days did you complete your habit? Goal: 7 to 7, but 5 to 7 is acceptable. What obstacles did you encounter? Did you execute your obstacle plans? Is the habit starting to feel more automatic? Week 3. Optimize and refine, days 15 to 21. This week, you're refining the habit to make it more sustainable and effective. Review your experience so far. What's working well? What's causing friction? When do you most often skip or struggle? What adjustments would help? Make adjustments. If your habit timing isn't working, you plan 6 a.m. but keep sleeping in, adjust the time. If your location isn't optimal, you plan to meditate in the living room but it's too distracting, change the location. If the habit is too easy and you're bored, increase difficulty by 10%, from 10 push-ups to 11, from 5 minutes reading to 5.5 minutes. If you're consistently doing more than your minimum is 1 page but you always read 10, consider officially increasing your commitment, but only if you're confident you can sustain it. Add a second micro-habit, optional. If your first habit feels completely automatic, if you do it without thinking, if missing it would feel weird, you can consider stacking a tiny second habit. Example, If make my bed is automatic, you might add, after I make my bed, I will do 10 push-ups. But be honest with yourself. Don't add a second habit if the first one still requires conscious effort. End of week 3 check. Did you maintain consistency this week? What adjustments did you make? Is the habit becoming automatic? Does it feel easier than week 2? Week 4. Lock it in, days 22 to 30. This is your final push. Your goal is to finish strong and cement the habit as part of your identity. Focus on identity this week. Each time you complete your habit, explicitly connect it to your identity. After exercising, I am someone who prioritizes fitness. After meditating, I am someone who values mental clarity. After reading, I am someone who invests in learning. After journaling, I am someone who processes their thoughts. Reflect on your progress. On day 25, write answers to these questions. How has this habit affected other areas of my life? What do I notice is different about my day when I do versus don't do this habit? How would I feel if I stopped doing this habit tomorrow? What identity am I building through this habit? Plan for maintenance. On day 28, plan how you'll maintain this habit beyond day 30. Will you continue with the same frequency? Will you increase difficulty gradually? Will you add a second habit next month? How will you handle vacations, illnesses, and other disruptions? Celebrate your success. On day 30, regardless of whether you hit 30 days or 25 30ths or even 20 30ths, celebrate. You've built a foundation. You've proven you can change. That matters. Give yourself a meaningful reward. Treat yourself to something you've wanted. Share your success with friends or family. Write yourself a letter acknowledging what you've accomplished. Take a before and after assessment of how you feel. End of week 4 check. How many total days did you complete your habit out of 30? How does the habit feel now compared to day 1? What will you do next month to build on this success? After the 30 days, what's next? You have several options. Option 1. Continue and deepen. Keep the same habit but gradually increase difficulty using the 10% rule. If you've been doing 10 push-ups, move to 11. If you've been reading 5 minutes, move to 5.5 minutes. Option 2. Add a second habit. If your first habit feels completely automatic, add a second one. Apply everything you've learned to this new habit. Option 3. Master the current habit. Continue the current habit at the same level for another 30 to 60 days until it's so ingrained that not doing it feels strange. What most people should do. Option 3. Resist the urge to immediately pile on more habits. Master this one first. Let it become part of who you are. Then add another. Chapter 8. Real Stories of Transformation. Let me share some detailed stories of people who've used these principles to transform their lives. These aren't celebrities or athletes. They're regular people who simply applied the science of habit formation consistently. Story 1. Maria's Morning Miracle. Maria, a 42-year-old accountant and mother of 2, was exhausted. She'd wake up tired, rush through the morning in chaos, and arrive at work already depleted. Her evenings were spent collapsed on the couch, too tired to do anything meaningful. She felt like life was just happening to her. She decided to try building one habit, waking up 30 minutes earlier. Week 1, she started with the smallest possible version, just sitting up in bed 30 minutes before her usual time. Not getting up, not doing anything productive, just sitting up. It felt ridiculous, but she did it. Week 2, she progressed to sitting on the edge of the bed with her feet on the floor. Week 3, she started standing up and walking to the kitchen for water. Week 4, she added 5 minutes of stretching. Month 2, she gradually built a full morning routine. Wake up, drink water, stretch, meditate for 10 minutes, write in her journal, review her day's priorities. The transformation wasn't just about the morning routine, it rippled through her entire life. She had energy for evening activities with her kids. She felt less reactive at work. She started exercising regularly because mornings gave her time. She and her husband started having coffee together before the kids woke up. A year later, she described it as the change that changed everything else. But it started with just sitting up in bed 30 minutes early. Story 2. David's Digital Detox. David, a 28-year-old software developer, realized he had a problem. He was spending 6 to 7 hours per day on his phone, mostly on social media and YouTube. His relationships were suffering. His hobbies had disappeared. He felt anxious and empty. He tried quitting cold turkey multiple times, deleting all apps, using screen time limits, even buying a dumb phone. Nothing lasted more than a few days. Finally, he tried a different approach. Don't try to quit, just make it harder and less attractive. His system: deleted social media apps from phone, could still access via computer browser, turned phone to grayscale mode, removed visual appeal, removed all phone chargers from bedroom, phone stayed in kitchen at night, set up automatic website blockers on computer during work hours, started a phone jar. Every time he mindlessly reached for his phone, he put $1 in the jar. The first week was uncomfortable. He felt phantom phone vibrations. He'd instinctively reach for his phone and feel frustrated when it wasn't there. But something shifted. Without constant scrolling, he rediscovered boredom. And in boredom, he found himself picking up his guitar again, reading books, taking walks, having actual conversations. Within 3 months, his phone usage had dropped to under 90 minutes per day. The money in the jar, about $80, showed him how often he'd been mindlessly reaching for his phone. He used the money to buy guitar strings and a new book. A year later, he said, "I got my life back. I didn't realize how much I'd given to that little screen." Story 3. James's weight loss journey. Remember James from the introduction? Let me share his full story. At 35, James was 60 pounds overweight, deeply in debt, and feeling hopeless. He tried crash diets, expensive gym memberships, and motivational books. Nothing stuck. His breakthrough came when he stopped trying to change everything and focused on one tiny habit: drinking a glass of water first thing every morning. That's it. Just water. No diet changes, no exercise requirements, just water. Month 1. He drank water every morning and tracked it on a calendar. The habit took about 30 seconds. Month 2. Once water was automatic, he stacked a second habit. After drinking water, he'd do 1 push-up. Just 1. Some days he'd do more, but his commitment was 1. Month 3. He added, after 1 push-up, he'd eat a healthy breakfast, which he'd prep on Sunday. Month 4. After breakfast, he'd pack a healthy lunch for work. Month 5. After lunch at work, he'd take a 10-minute walk. He never tried to do everything at once. He never relied on motivation. He just added 1 small habit at a time, waiting until each one was automatic before adding the next. The weight came off slowly, 1 to 2 pounds per week. No dramatic before and after. Just steady, sustainable progress. But the real transformation was his identity. He stopped seeing himself as someone who was trying to get healthy and started seeing himself as a healthy person. Healthy people make healthy choices. It became natural. 2 years later, 55 pounds lost, debt paid off, and a completely different life. When asked his secret, he said, "I stopped trying to change my life in 1 day. I just tried to be 1% better every day." Those 1% improvements compounded into someone I barely recognize. Story 4. Patricia's creative resurrection. Patricia, a 51-year-old marketing director, had always dreamed of writing a novel. For 20 years, she'd talked about it. For 20 years, she'd done nothing. The problem wasn't lack of ideas or time. It was the overwhelming nature of the goal. A novel is 80,000 plus words. She'd sit down to write, feel paralyzed by the scope, and end up watching TV instead. She tried the 2-minute rule. Her commitment was to write 1 sentence per day. Just 1. Her first sentence took her 45 minutes to write. She agonized over every word. But she wrote it. The next day she wrote another sentence. Then another. After a week, she found herself writing multiple sentences even though her commitment was just 1. After a month, she was writing 200 to 300 words most days. After 6 months, she had 40,000 words, half a novel. The key wasn't the daily word count. It was showing up. The identity shifted from aspiring writer to writer. Writers write. It's just what they do. 18 months after starting, she typed the end on a completed 85,000-word novel. Some days during those 18 months, she'd only written 1 sentence. Other days, she'd written 2,000 words. but she'd shown up every single day. When asked how she finally did it after 20 years of false starts, she said, "I stopped waiting to feel inspired. I stopped waiting for large blocks of time. I just committed to one sentence. Turns out, one sentence was all I needed to get started. And starting was the only thing I'd been missing." Story 5. Marcus's meditation practice. Marcus, a 39-year-old emergency room doctor, was burning out. The stress of his job was affecting his health, his marriage, and his ability to sleep. Multiple colleagues suggested meditation, but Marcus was skeptical. "I don't have time to sit around doing nothing," he'd say. Finally, at his wife's insistence, he tried it, with modifications for his skeptical, action-oriented personality. He started with the absolute minimum, 2 minutes once per day using a guided meditation app. He stacked it onto his existing routine. "After I pour my morning coffee, I will sit on the couch and meditate for 2 minutes. Week 1, he did it 5 out of 7 days. He felt restless and frustrated during the 2 minutes. Week 2, 6 out of 7 days. Still restless but less hostile to the practice. Week 3, 7 out of 7 days. He noticed he felt slightly calmer afterward. Week 4, he increased to 3 minutes. Started noticing better stress management at work. Month 2, increased to 5 minutes. His wife commented that he seemed less reactive. Month 3, moved to 10 minutes. He started actually looking forward to it. Month 6, 20 minutes daily, plus shorter sessions during stressful shifts at work. A year later, Marcus was a meditation evangelist. His blood pressure had dropped. His sleep had improved. He was more present with patients and family. He'd even convinced 3 colleagues to start practicing. When asked what changed his mind about meditation, he said, "I realized it's not about sitting around doing nothing. It's training your mind the way I'd train for a marathon. And starting with 2 minutes removed all the barriers. No equipment, minimal time, easy to fit anywhere. Once I experienced the benefits, I wanted more." Conclusion: the compound effect of small changes. Here's a truth that might not sound impressive at first. If you improve by just 1% every day for a year, you'll end up 37 times better than when you started. Let me say that again. 1% daily improvement leads to being 37 times better after 1 year. This is the power of compound growth, and it's the secret behind every major transformation. Consider. Reading for 15 minutes per day equals 10 to 15 books per year. Saving $5 per day equals nearly $2,000 per year. Exercising for 20 minutes per day equals over 120 hours per year. Writing 500 words per day equals 182,500 words per year. 2 novels. Learning 10 new words of a language per day equals 3,650 words per year. Conversational fluency. These small daily actions don't feel impressive in the moment, but they compound into life-changing results. The problem is that we live in a culture obsessed with dramatic transformations. We want the weight lost in 30 days, the business built in 3 months, the skill mastered in a weekend. We see the highlight reels of other people's success and assume they got there through some burst of heroic effort. But the truth is more mundane and more powerful. They got there through habits. Small, consistent, sustainable habits practiced daily over months and years. The Valley of Disappointment. There's a phenomenon you need to understand: the Valley of Disappointment. When you start a new habit, you expect linear progress. You think, if I work out for a week, I should see results. If I read for a month, I should feel smarter. But real progress doesn't work that way. Results are delayed. You work out for a week, no visible change. 2 weeks, still nothing. A month, maybe your clothes fit slightly differently, but not much. This is the Valley of Disappointment, where your efforts feel pointless because you can't see results yet. This is where most people quit. But here's what's actually happening. Your efforts are not wasted. They're accumulating. They're being stored. You're like an ice cube being heated from 25 degrees Fahrenheit to 31 degrees Fahrenheit. Nothing visible is happening. But you're not failing, you're approaching the threshold. Then suddenly the ice starts melting. At 32 degrees Fahrenheit, everything changes. This is the breakthrough moment that looks sudden from the outside but was actually the result of all those invisible degrees of change. Your habits work the same way. You show up, and it feels like nothing is happening. Then suddenly the compound interest kicks in. The habits become automatic. The results become visible. The transformation becomes undeniable. But you only get there if you survive the valley of disappointment. You are not failing, you're approaching the threshold. If you're currently in the valley, if you've been consistent but haven't seen results yet, please hear this. You are not failing. You are approaching the threshold. Every day you show up, you're 1 degree closer to the melting point. The people you admire who seem to effortlessly maintain good habits? They've just passed the threshold. They're on the other side where the behaviors feel natural. But they went through the same valley you're in now. Systems over goals. Remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Goals are about the results you want. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. The goal is to lose 30 pounds. The system is eating mostly whole foods and exercising 4 times per week. The goal is to write a book. The system is writing 500 words every morning. The goal is to be financially secure. The system is automatically saving 15% of every paycheck. Focus on building better systems and the goals will take care of themselves. The person you're becoming. Here's the final and most important insight. Your habits are shaping the person you're becoming. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be. Every time you choose the salad over the burger, you're voting for healthy person. Every time you write even when you don't feel like it, you're voting for writer. Every time you show up to practice, you're voting for dedicated athlete. Accumulate enough votes and your identity changes. Once your identity changes, the behavior becomes natural. You're not forcing yourself to act against your nature. You're simply acting in alignment with who you've become. The question isn't, what do I want to achieve? The question is, who do I want to become? Answer that question, then ask yourself, what would that person do today? Then do that thing. That's it. That's the entire strategy. Your next steps: choose one habit you want to build. Just one. Make it tiny. So small you can't say no. 2 minutes or less. Pick a time and location. Use implementation intentions. I will, behavior, at time and location. Stack it. Attach it to an existing habit using after I, current habit, I will, new habit. Track it. Get a calendar or app. Mark every day you complete the habit. Plan for obstacles. Create if-then plans for potential roadblocks. Start immediately. Not next Monday. Not next month. Today. Never miss twice. When you skip a day, and you will, get back on track immediately. Focus on identity. With each repetition, remind yourself, this is the type of person I'm becoming. Be patient. Trust the process. Survive the valley of disappointment. The compound interest will kick in. The bottom line. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need massive willpower. You don't need to completely overhaul your life in one dramatic makeover. You just need to be consistent. You just need to show up. You just need to be 1% better today than you were yesterday. Small changes don't feel meaningful in the moment. A 15-minute walk doesn't transform your health today. Writing 1 page doesn't make you an author today. Saving $5 doesn't make you financially secure today. But if you do these things consistently, if you show up every day even when you don't feel like it, even when you can't see results yet, they compound into remarkable transformations over time. The person you want to become is waiting on the other side of the habits you're about to build. Start small. Start today. Start now. The rest will take care of itself.